If you are looking for a speaker for your organization, look no further than Dr. Janice Fortman, an international speaker, award-winning author, and producer and host of Relationship Matters TV. What sets her apart is that she connects the heart of relationships with the power of communication and leadership. Dr. Jan's goal is not simply to inspire audiences for a moment, but to give them the insight and tools to transform the way they live, lead, and relate to others. Contact her at drjan@drjanicespeaks.com or 1-877-667-7325.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. It's Dr. Jan with Relationship Matters TV. I hope everyone is having a beautiful, blessed morning, afternoon, or evening. We are extremely happy here in Illinois because we think, well, at least the weather forecasters say that we're going to have spring, maybe for a couple of days, and then we're going to go right into summer. But we're very happy anyway that it isn't raining, it isn't snowing, but we really send our prayers out to those who are experiencing the fires and those who are experiencing floods. It's just all kinds of things that are happening with the weather. I don't know what's happening, but we send our prayers and our hopes that everything, just kind of comes out all right. So let's talk about my guest today. She's going to talk about something that I wish I had known. I wish my mom had known. It's something extremely important, and I'm sure that she's going to bring a lot of value to us, and it's all about finances. So let me tell you a little bit about who it is and what she's going to share with us. Her name is Deborah Rechnitz, and I hope I'm pronouncing it right. If not, Deborah, correct me. She is a seasoned business consultant with over 40 years of experience advising small and medium-sized businesses across 4 continents. She holds degrees in finance, in personnel administration, interpersonal communications, and she has an MBA in operations management. However, she has focused, she has shifted her focus to financial literacy for children and families. And that was inspired by observing kids treating money casually, which we all know about. As Grandma Deb, she creates engaging children's stories such as Billy and the Sweet Surprise and the Candy Bag book, which she's going to talk about later. And her books are to teach earning, saving, and spending wisely in fun, age appropriate ways. Her work emphasizes that parents often struggle to explain money concepts, and especially in a digital tap to pay world. But I got a story even before the digital tap to pay world about me and my son and money. And these books aim to build these skills early without causing stress for the parents and for the child. So I want to bring to you Deborah Rechnitz. Hi, Deborah.
Good afternoon, and how are you today?
I am doing great, and how are you?
Perfect. Thank you so much.
Now, where are we visiting today? Where are you from? Where are you coming from?
Well, today I'm actually coming from Sydney, Australia to you, and
Oh,
it's early in the morning here. So it's worked out just perfectly for the time change.
okay. So, what time is it there?
Well, it's about 10 a.m. here on the next day. So
Okay.
today's Friday. That's a head turner for everyone. It's Friday at 10 a.m. in the morning.
Wow. And it's 7 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. Wow. That is something. Well, I am very, very happy that you are here. Have you had your breakfast and you ready?
I've had my cup of coffee, which was more important than anything.
Okay. No, that I understand.
Yes.
So let's jump into this. The first question that I have is what inspired you, your transition from decades of business to consulting to becoming Grandma Deb and focusing on children's financial literacy. Was there like a pivotal moment, that sparked this passion of yours now?
Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. Uh, I I got to the point of being able to spend more time with my grandchildren and watching other children. But the pivotal moment was when I saw a group of 12-year-olds, roughly, of girls, and they'd been given some cash from their parents. They each had some bills. They approached a candy counter, threw the bills at the clerk, and said, "Give us whatever we can buy with this." And so what I saw was really no thought as to what they had, how much it was worth, the choices they could make with those bills, and really not much interest in learning what it could do for them.
Okay.
And so that pivotal moment said, we have to do something about this. And I'd like to do something that affects more than just one or two children. I want to do something that will positively affect as many children as possible.
Wow. So they just threw their money on the counter. Just no concept at all.
Mm, and not much caring about the concept. They simply wanted to take whatever that counter person was going to give them and run away and enjoy it. It
Wow.
was depressing.
I, I guess so. You know, when do you think that parents should really start talking about financial literacy? You know, how old
Right.
should kids be?
So, in my mind, and from what I've seen, the discussion can start very early, very, very early, but the topics change as the children grow. So, the little kids, we're talking 4 to 6 year olds, they're into counting things. They can count one,
Okay.
two, three, four, five, and they can count money 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I don't care if they understand that some are nickels and dimes and quarters. That will all become irrelevant anyway, but they can count that they have 10 of those things, and that's the initial orientation, and from there it can become more sophisticated.
Okay. So let's take a 3 or 4 year old. So do you suggest like giving them money and making them know the difference between nickels and dimes and quarters and is
So I'm pretty much a fan of piggy banks,
okay.
and the change in dollar bills end up being collected. You've got some coins on a counter, and there it goes, and eventually, and now and then, it just becomes part of play. Let's count how much is in there, and they practice their counting. What comes after 10? 11, 12, 20, 30. And so it's only a very, very small orientation. The concept of nickels and quarters and dimes are extremely complicated in the United States. I mean, the dime is smaller than the penny, which is hard for anybody to really understand. So I'm really just a fan of counting at that age. The next age up, after 6, 7, they start wanting to collect. And at collection, I have more today than I had yesterday. That's concept number 2. I have more today than I had yesterday, and I might have more tomorrow. And that's the next concept for the kids. The concept of earning it is a little bit farther along. 7 year olds, 8 year olds, and they understand if I do something, I get something. And then I might consider what I'm going to do with that. And that's the next step where payment might come in and be relevant to the kids.
So what about when do they start valuing
Mm.
you know um money, so to speak, and what it can do for them?
Right. So value concept is when they can see that they've done something, whether they earn it through household chores or a gift from grandma, then they realize that perhaps they can spend that. And it's the relationship between I have it and I want to spend it. Now, do I have enough money to spend it on what I want? And that's where they start learning the value of money. I have $5, but it's $6 to buy the bag of candy. Oh, that's a big deal. I don't have enough. How do I get that extra dollar? Now I start understanding value. And the lesson to be learned can be done in fact, in the grocery store, which is where the parents start coming in. Well, you said you wanted this, but you only have $5. What do you want to do about it? Wow, that's a big deal for a kid. You've given him a decision point in time. He gets to make that decision. And suddenly he owns that decision, and he starts learning and making choices of what he wants to do.
Oh, okay. And so I think at the beginning, I said, I wish I had started teaching my son, well, counting the money and so on, all the way up to purchasing. And I remember um, one time he wanted something. And I said, oh, well, I really don't have the money right now. And he said, well, go to the ATM. I think he was 6 and, and get some money. And I said, well, you have to put money into the ATM in order to get some money. And then I started talking about piggy banks. And I said, so if you put some money in the piggy bank, it's just like putting some money in the piggy bank. So if you put some money in the piggy bank, then you can get some money out. And so in other words, he could see I was trying to teach him really about, the ATM is just not something that, just throws money out at you. And I think a lot of children now, and even in the past, really need to be taught about financial literacy. Uh, what money is. Like you say, the counting starts first when they're young, but what money is, what money can do, and how not to just be 12 years old and, you know, going to the candy store and just throwing money on the counter. So now that's what I talked about, back when my son was a child. But in today's world of digital payments and that tap and go, many kids, I think they see money as magic or unlimited. So what do you think are the biggest challenges parents face when trying to teach earning, saving, and spending wisely? And how do you make these lessons fun? So that's two questions in one.
The fun part would be a challenge for parents, but because money just flies through the air today, as you say, it's extremely hard. So I'm a supporter of starting really early, and really at the 4 to 8 year old, they understand the physicalness of money, which is harder and harder to see today. And at a certain point then, their first introduction to that digital age, as you say, is to open a bank account for the child. And the advantage of a bank account, there's not a lot of them anymore, but the number one advantage is the child is given a debit card. And we're talking about 8 year olds at this point in time, because everything gets sped up in our modern world, where maybe 10 or 12 made sense before, but it's probably down to 8 by now. So now they have an app, because 8 year olds have apps where they can see I've put $10 in my bank account and I have a debit card, and I can now tap and go up to $10. So they'll try $12. And in my next book, she tries even more money. And does it go or doesn't it go? So now I've got the concept of I have it, I don't have enough, or I have enough for what I want. And the concept that I have a plastic card that is actually connected to that bank account that I went into the bank, I gave them my $10, and that's where it's sitting. Now I've got a bit of relationship going on and understanding that digital concept, which I agree is really, really hard, because all they see now is their parents have a plastic card, they tap and they get whatever they want or need. They get their groceries, that's it, and that's all the kids see. So unless they're involved in it, they can't learn that connection.
Wow. So it would be just like when my son uh, wanted to get money out of the ATM. They see a plastic card and they think that plastic card is money. Well, it is money, but they think that that's never ending, so to speak.
Correct, because they don't see it going in. They don't see the paycheck, which goes directly into an account. They don't ever see the earnings. So unless a parent really talks about earning the money as well as spending the money, they don't understand how it gets into the account. And that's why it seems unlimited.
Well, I started thinking probably some adults probably need that lesson and that debit card. You know, uh, uh, I remember when debit cards first came out, and people were looking down on people, with a debit card instead of a credit card.
Mm.
So that means if you have a debit card, then evidently you can't get credit. You don't have a credit card. So now, from what I see, people use their debit cards more than they use their credit cards. But tell you the truth, as an adult, and I guess, like you said, you need to teach this concept to children. It's so easy to overspend with a debit card because you don't see the physical money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that is a challenge, I would think, for parents. So I really like this concept. So you have children's books and like the Billy stories. So tell us about the Billy stories.
So the first book, which is called Billy and the Sweet Surprise, is designed as an introduction for the very young, from 4 up to 8. The 4-year-olds, it's highly illustrated, so the 4-year-olds listen and you read to it. The 8-year-old can read it to a younger sibling and has a greater understanding. But basically, Billy has no money. He expects his mother to buy a birthday present that he's going to turn around and give to his younger sister. And the key in the story is the mother explains money doesn't grow on trees. Well, at the time, I had a 7-year-old grandson who was also my editor, who read this story and said, yeah, I don't understand that concept. We understand that concept, but
Right.
interestingly enough, it hadn't been introduced to the children. And the concept is it doesn't grow on trees. Where does it come from? So we earn it, we save it, and then we spend it wisely. So I earn it by going to work, and she explains this to him. I spend it on food and housing and electricity and paying all my bills. And sometimes I have something left over for you, but not this week.
Oh.
And so there's no money to buy that birthday present for his little sister who he's trying to bribe and keep out of his room, which is a pretty common problem. So she comes back and offers, if you do some household chores, you can share in the household income. And in some cases, that would be called an allowance or pocket money. But the reality is, it ties work to payment,
Okay.
whatever you call it,
Yeah.
and whatever you do. And you don't have to do very much, but you share in the household chores and you share in the household income. And they've actually done some studies that say children who do that and who do earn it understand that concept a little bit better. So, of course, he does his chores all week. He goes back to the store. He's got his $5 and he still doesn't have enough money for the candy. And so the question is there something else that will work? And so he has to struggle with choice. I don't have enough. Do I have other choices? Can I buy something that's less value, but still worthwhile to my little sister? And in essence, that's the story. So that's the hard job. She loves the present that he buys her. She promises to stay out of his room somewhat. And it all has a very happy ending. And that's the very first book. The next one talks about more significant issues and really gets into older kids and gets into the financial literacy and the financial instruments that are involved.
Okay, all righty. Now, I do like that concept of not just an allowance, in other words, not just expecting money, say once a week or whatever, without doing anything for it. But I like it when it's earned,
Mm-hmm.
because when they learn that early, then they know that that as you say, earnings, when you go from earnings to that money, it puts it in them, to me, that okay, this is how you get money. You have to earn it. Whatever, however way that is. So hold on. So text someone. Okay, a text came in. It said, "Oh, okay. Will you try to get your program into high schools for seniors before they get into debt?"
Oh, I want it way before high school and seniors. Yes, it's very necessary. And we're really starting at daycares and elementary schools. And I want them to understand this certainly by after elementary school into the next grade level. And that's where the next book really comes in, which is just in process now. It's those 10 to 14-year-olds before graduation. And to even understand credit cards rather than getting into trouble with it. So way before high school. But I love the suggestion. Yes, it's needed. Some of the schools have actually started some financial education programs. I think the state of California is trying to add some of those programs. And again, in high school era, but it would be nice to start even younger.
That's very true. I remember when my son was in college, as soon as they got there, the kids as freshmen, these companies, credit card companies, were just right there, giving, having them to sign things, and so they could get credit. And like he said, "Mom, they used that credit card." One of his friends, he said all she did was rent videos, with the credit cards. And it ended up, of course, they didn't have jobs.
Right.
And so they had no concept of the fact that when you take this piece of plastic, you give it to someone, and you buying stuff with it, that you got to pay for it. And I think, I don't know if they passed a law, but it became so prevalent that I know there was a big uproar about that. So a lot of colleges stopped allowing these different companies to come on campus, because I think of course, it ended up, of course, with the parents having
Yes,
to,
of course.
you know, to pay for, but they were letting these kids have these credit cards in their name,
Mm-hmm.
which of course meant that messed up their credit right then and there. So
Right.
yeah, you're right. It should start early, early, early. But if it hasn't started early, it still should start. It should Schools really should have these financial literacy programs. So let me ask you this: how does how do you think that early financial education impacts family relationships. Because this is Relationship Matters TV. We talk about relationships. But how does that impact family relationships and a child's future success?
So the challenge is that a lot of parents don't have a lot of confidence in this category. And without the confidence, you tend not to discuss it. But what I've really seen is parents have much more knowledge than they realize. They work with it every day, they earn it, they pay bills, they struggle to save money, and the financial community outside of the family adds lots of terms and abbreviations and makes it sound very fancy. But the reality, oh yeah, that's why you have to go hire them. But the reality is it's not fancy. Money in, money out, maybe some money's left over. And that's all they have to share with their children. And if there's another book that's just a little more sophisticated and the kids read it, the parents read it, and then you can talk about it. And so parents that maybe don't have a lot of confidence in one small area or another simply build that confidence. But there are moments in time when those discussions are very appropriate and easy to do for both the parents and the child. And there's teachable moments where a parent's paying bills. Well, we tend to do that at night when the kids are asleep. But the reality is it's okay to do it during the day. It's okay to show them that the electric bill went up more than last month because we had the heat on or the air conditioning on, and it costs us a lot more. But I can pay it this month, and you sit down and you write a check. It's really hard now if it's all automatic and
Yeah.
digital. They don't even see that anymore. But as much as possible, say the payment, the paycheck came in and the bills went out, and wow, we've got a little bit left over. What should we do with it? And then that also becomes a point of discussion in the family. Should we save it for emergencies? Should we save it for our summer vacation? Should we put a little in each pile? And that becomes a family discussion. So
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
no. So they have those skills, and I want to share that more than anything else because parents try to avoid that conversation, and that doesn't do any good to anybody. But they need to have the confidence that yes, they really, really do understand money.
Now, I really, really like that. Yeah, when you're sitting down and you're writing your bills, to have your children right there with you so they can see that, about the bills and what, money is being spent for. Because I think a lot of children don't understand when their parents say, I don't have the money to do this, or, you can't get that, you can't because I don't have enough money. But it would be great. I think, like you said, parents do it at night when the kids are in the bed or whatever. But to me, what we've talked about so far, that is something that I think that you've given us to meet right so far. That's the most valuable thing that you've said, because I think I was telling you earlier about it's prom time here, you know, and I see these moms struggling to have these girls have these dresses, and they're paying so much money for them. And I know a person who creates, and she makes these prom dresses, And she was telling me, she said, they're spending so much money because the girls, they want this to be that way. And the moms are struggling to give these young girls what they want. And to me, it's like they don't understand that mom has to pay bills, whatever, and that the mom is struggling. But if a child is right there when you are writing out those bills, then I think a lot of these moms right now, especially going through this prom thing, would not. Oh my God! And I just struggle with that. If you're spending $2,000 and $3,000 for a dress that you only want to wear at one time, and just no concept of what you can do with that $2,000 or $3,000. So I got to take a quick commercial. A couple of texts came in, but don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. If you are a mom or a grandmother and you have some children that you would like to talk with and that you kind of having a little difficulty as far as them having a concept of money, and if they're even older and they need to be more educated about financial literacy, do not go anywhere. We will be right back.
From right to left, and every angle in between. Know what I mean? In this day and age, so many seem like they're lost inside a world and held captive in a dream. A glimpse of mediocrity, take one for the team. And even though this path is long and this place is unforeseen, gotta keep your feet moving, filling spaces in between, seeing places in your dreams. If you complacent by your means, by all means go back to sleep. The path is steep, there's no rest for the weary. If you intend to reach peaks, it gets deep. Come on, it's infinite, we still climbing. Yes, yes, y'all. And thanks for the positive vibes, but I still got a mountain to climb. Just take it one step at a time,
I'm gonna
yo.
ball till I fall, gonna ride till I die. I'll never give in, yo, if I wanna survive. Not gonna swallow my pride, I'll never give up, cause when it's all said and done, done is what I've done enough. I push myself to the edge, I push myself to the brink. Is the toil all worth it? It makes me stop and think. But through the mud and the mire, the joy and the strife, no one can claim that I didn't live all of this beautiful life.
We are back with Deborah Rechnitz. I want to remind everyone that here in the United States, Monday is Memorial Day. And we really want to thank our fallen soldiers that have served our country and that have helped us to remain freedom. If you're looking to have a video promo for your book or for your service, for your products, just email lowski2lopan@gmail.com. That's LOSKI2LOPAN@gmail.com. And if you would like to be a guest on Relationship Matters TV, or you know someone who you feel would make a great guest, just go to www.drjanicespeaks.com. That's DRJANICE speaks.com. And people ask me, why are you spelling this out? Well, some people are just audio only. And so that's why I spell everything out. Well, let's get back to Deborah. When we talk about something that's very, very important, and it's about children and money. Now, we had another text to come in and says, I believe that kids need to be given more responsibility when they are young. Many countries demand that the child contributes to the betterment of the family. What do you think about that?
I agree 100%. Involve them when they're young, and you'll find they just grow into it, and they make you proud, and your trust in them continues to grow. A radical concept in that area is when to introduce them to a credit card. Before our break, you said the colleges, when they go to college, they're inundated and they really don't understand. In the United States, you can't legally have a credit card in your own name until you're 18, which generally implies you don't understand the concept of fees and interest charges if you don't repay on time. There is a way around that. Depending on your level of trust for your child, you can provide them to be an authorized user of one of your credit cards. So if you receive a credit card with a really, really small line of credit, you can actually get their name on that card and then help them track it, understand a due date, understand they have to repay it, and when they don't, they have to pay the fees and interest that's charged. And it can be an expensive lesson, but it's better to have an expense on a $50 charge than a $1,000 charge when you're 18. And so there is a way to introduce it, but most parents find it extremely scary, and understandably.
I can understand that. So a comment came here from Maxine Walker. She says, I'm trying to get my granddaughter and grandniece to lessons to the show, or to listen to the show, since they have an inheritance coming to them. Oh, yes. So definitely you would want them to know about money. Especially, I just have a little short story for that. I'm not going to say who it was, But anyway, a very, very good friend of mine passed, and she had a nice amount of money set aside. And she had me at the time I was selling insurance, and she had me to she said, when I pass, I want you to take this money and invest it for my son and for my daughter. And at the time, the daughter was 18, I think the son was like 16. And because she felt that, when they got to be a certain age, and she had talked to them beforehand, that, when they got to be a certain age, how the money would grow. Well, after maybe 3 years, the daughter decided she wanted that money. And she spent that money, I think, and it was quite a bit of money. She spent her money and a trip to Europe, a purebred puppy, just all kinds of things. Then she got her brother to take his money because by then, he's 21. They could take their money. And today, she looks back because she could have had millions.
Hmm.
you know. But yeah, so yes, Maxine, I understand what you're saying. And here's another comment from Sandy Barney Ennis. She said, "Oh, my children sat with me at the table to see our household bills. They had to log in our expenses. They used their basic math skills to help me budget. I wanted them to understand that we had a variety of bills. My kids used their math skills to help me with our budget."
Fantastic. Just fantastic. Congratulations. That's beautiful.
And she says here, "I was an adult before I knew my parents had to pay utility bills. Shame, shame."
Wow.
And that's wonderful. And when you talk about that, I remember my first job. I was fresh out of high school and I got a job. And I thought, oh, when I get my paycheck, what I'm going to do with that. And I got my paycheck, and my mom asked me how much I got, and I told her I was so proud. I was so happy. She was telling me how much of my check I had to give her. And I thought, what? And she said, "Well, you are using my toilet tissue, you're using my electricity." And she went down the line, and I'm only charging you. This is, and I thought it was horrible, and she was so mean. But what did that teach me?
Yeah.
What did that teach me? Just what Sandy said. I learned financial literacy right then and there. I learned it. So we only have a couple of more minutes, and I had something I wanted to ask you. Yeah, before we go, what practical tips would you give to families wanting to implement money, how to earn it, how to save it, how to spend it wisely, especially for different age groups or busy households?
So the first thing, again, depending on the age group, as you say, they have to look for teachable moments. If you talk to a child when he's not interested, he's not going to listen. You could talk till you're blue in the face and he's not going to listen, or she. You find teachable moments. A teachable moment is at the grocery store. And depending on the age of the child, this box is twice as big as that box. And it's a great math skill, as one of your listeners mentioned. Is it twice as expensive? Or is it less than twice as expensive? Great math lesson. So should we get the big box or should we get the little box? Whoa. So I did my math, I did my money management, and I did my groceries. And it was a cereal box, so the children's interested because they want the big box. Everybody's happy. And that becomes a teachable moment when everyone is really interested. The next opportunity might be when it's a birthday coming up or Christmas and they've written a letter to Santa, which only lasts for about the first 8 years. They don't believe in Santa, but they're still writing the letter knowing that somebody's going to read it. And in the letter, there are all sorts of things that they want, which we reviewed and said, so this item, how much do you think it costs? Well, I have no idea. Well, maybe we should look it up because you can do that now. Well, this item costs twice as much as that. You could get 2 of these for 1 of those. Which one do you want? And again, it's a teachable moment. It's something the kids really want. And suddenly they're making some decisions and communicating it, which is also helpful, to their parents. The bill paying time is also, again, a teachable moment. I have something left over. What should we use it for? That becomes a family discussion. Of course, it's the parents' decision, but it's a family discussion. Well, there's enough, a little bit for you, and there's a little bit for me, and there's a little bit we're going to set aside. And those are all teachable moments that we can take advantage of. But obviously, I'm a fan of starting as early as possible. They think we're a bit nuts, but it all sinks in at the end of the day and becomes useful information, regardless of how they decide to use it.
You are so right. Well, another question came in. It says here, okay, no, that wasn't inappropriate. Sometimes when they come in and they will send me something that's not appropriate, so I'm not going to put that on screen, whoever that was. So anyway, okay, so how can they reach you if they want to know more about you and what you do?
And you've got my email there on screen. That's fantastic. I'll answer any questions I can. The purpose of these books are to get them out to as many people as possible. So there's no royalties, there's no profit on my part. I'm trying to distribute them to as many groups. We've gone to Boys and Girls Club and distributed 50 of them there. And we've gone to housing developments and distributed another 50 there with grants and benefactors. And so if someone buys the book, those profits just go into distributing more and more books to organizations and libraries and daycares and wherever we can do that, to get that word out and to start that education level. So the first book that's out and is just for the 4 to 8-year-olds, Billy and the Sweet Surprise, and it's available on Amazon. But if someone wants a large quantity, they can get it direct from me, basic price, and distribute it to churches and Rotary clubs. And we've had people gift it to wherever they want to share those books.
Okay. And for Audible only, her email is DRECHNITZ@gmail.com. And for those who are watching, you can see on the lower third how you can order the book through Amazon. But it's something, they also can find you on YouTube.
Right.
Yes. And so the YouTube is at Deborah Rechnitz. How do you pronounce it? Is it Rech or Rec?
Wreck like a car wreck.
Okay. Okay. It's Deborah Rechnitz 9738. And so go to YouTube and just click on DeborahRechnitz 9738. Deborah, Thank you so much. So I want to know, where were you when I had my son? And then I could have been reading those books with him. But he understands the concept now.
I
You know,
bet he does.
he understands
Grandma
the concept now.
Grandma Deb wasn't born yet. And the book author is really listed as Grandma Deb because nobody wants to deal with my last name. So I
Okay.
turned into Grandma Deb. That's a pen name of mine.
Okay. Well, Grandma Deb, thank you so much for being a guest on my show. And for Maxine, the show is also on YouTube. So maybe you can get them to watch on YouTube. And for anyone else, take advantage of this. And because it is very, very important that you teach your children or your grandchildren about money as early as you can. So thank you again, Deborah. And I just so you all will know, Deborah is in Australia.
Yes,
In Australia, by the way, before we go.
Sorry?
How is the weather there before we go?
Well, we're into autumn, fall as you're into spring. Pretty much just the opposite.
Okay, all righty. Maybe one day I'll get to visit.
You'll be my guest. Thank you.
All right, thank you. You have a beautiful, blessed rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
All righty. Bye-bye. Well, that was great. That was great. We learned a lot. I learned a lot, and I know that you learned a lot. So, here in the United States, I know Monday, it is a holiday. And I know a lot of us will be barbecuing and traveling, but be very, very, very careful in your travels. And remember, it is Memorial Day, and it's a day where we celebrate and thank those who have fought for us, who have died for us here in the United States in order for us to maintain our freedom. So I got 1 minute, and excuse me, I just wanted to give you my thought for today. And my thought for today is for you to remember there are all kinds of relationships. There are all kinds of relationship matters. Life is about relationships. So I see you again next week on Relationship Matters TV. Bye-bye.